The delivery address seemed normal, an industrial complex on Chicago's south side. But when Jake knocked on the door, he found himself face to face with the same terrorist smuggling network he'd spent years hunting at the Mexican border. Jake Thompson had been doing DoorDash deliveries in Chicago for 3 years. His red Honda Civic, thermal bag, and GPS had become part of his life. He averaged 25 to 30 deliveries per day, making around $3,500 per month. He looked like an ordinary delivery driver, but his past was anything but ordinary. 34-year-old Jake had worked for U.S. Border Patrol for 8 years. While stationed in El Paso, Texas, he'd specialized in human trafficking, drug trade, and especially border crossings by terror suspects. He'd participated in numerous operations, caught dozens of smugglers, and faced death several times. But everything changed in 2021. During a mission, his partner, Mike Rodriguez, was shot and killed in a firefight. Jake could never forget that day. They'd been chasing human smugglers, got cornered, and came under fire. Mike had sacrificed himself to protect Jake. After that day, Jake couldn't work at the border anymore. He underwent PTSD treatment, received psychological support, but every time he saw a border checkpoint, Mike's face appeared before his eyes. He resigned in 2022 and quietly moved to Chicago. Nobody knew about his past. DoorDash delivery work gave him peace. It was simple work. He didn't have to talk to anyone too much. Orders would come in, he'd pick them up, deliver them, collect payment, and move to the next one. No danger, no guns, no chases, just traffic, music, and thoughts. This morning had started like any other. Starbucks coffee order, McDonald's burger meal, lo mein from a Chinese restaurant. The routine of a normal day. At 3 o'clock, his final order came in. Large pizza with extra cheese from Pizza Palace. Address, 4758 South Industrial Avenue, Unit 12. Jake entered the address into his GPS. Industrial Avenue, the south side of the city. An area with old factories and warehouses. Not exactly a residential area, but sometimes workers there would order food. 20 minutes later, he reached the address. A gray concrete building with large metal doors, trucks parked around it. He was looking for Unit 12. The numbering system was confusing, but he finally found a small door with a faded 12 written on it. Jake got out of his car, grabbed the pizza box, and approached the door. The door was slightly ajar. Voices came from inside, several people talking, but the language wasn't Spanish. It sounded like Arabic. Jake's ear was accustomed to these languages. He'd caught illegal immigrants of many different nationalities at the border. He knocked on the door. The voices inside stopped. A few seconds later, the door opened. Jake's blood ran cold. The man who opened the door was middle-aged, bearded, and appeared to be Middle Eastern. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that Jake recognized this man. Ahmed Hassan, Syrian national, terror suspect. Jake had caught him at the Mexican border 3 years ago. He'd handed him over to the FBI. How was he here? Ahmed had recognized Jake too. Surprise was evident on both their faces. Ahmed started speaking in English but stopped. Jake tried to act professional. Your pizza order, $24.50. Ahmed studied Jake. You are border police? No, I'm a delivery driver. If you want your pizza. More voices came from inside, people speaking Arabic. Jake listened carefully. What they were discussing worried him. He heard words like shipment, border, inside America. Ahmed tried to close the door, but Jake put his hand on it. If you don't want the pizza, I'll leave. What are you doing here? Ahmed asked in an aggressive tone. I'm delivering pizza. You placed an order. Ahmed turned around and said something in Arabic to those inside. Jake understood a few words. Police, danger, run. Jake started backing away. He shouldn't stay in this situation. He had no connection to his old life anymore. He was just a delivery driver. But a voice from inside stopped him. Jake Thompson. That voice was familiar. Jake froze. The man who came out from inside. Mike Rodriguez's killer, Carlos Mendez. Jake could never forget him. This was the man who had shot Mike. How had he gotten into the U.S.? Carlos smiled when he saw Jake. Little border cop. What are you doing here? Jake's heart began racing. Both Ahmed Hassan and Carlos Mendez were in the same place. This couldn't be a coincidence. I'm delivering pizza. Pizza? Carlos laughed. You're delivering pizza now? How funny. More people started coming out from inside. Jake recognized them all. They were all criminals he'd caught at different times. How were they all here? How had they been released? Ahmed tried to pull Jake inside. You've seen too much. Jake resisted. I haven't seen anything. I just delivered pizza. No, Carlos approached. You know too much, and we can't trust you. Jake dropped his bag and prepared to run, but Ahmed grabbed his arm. Where are you going, old friend? Jake tried to free himself from Ahmed's grip. Let me go. I'm a delivery driver, nothing else. You're Jake Thompson, El Paso Border Patrol. The man who caught us. The voices coming from inside were even more worrying. People speaking in other languages. Russian, Chinese, Arabic. Jake realized this wasn't just about a few smugglers. This was a major operation. Carlos looked into Jake's face. You know we have to kill you. Jake's FBI training kicked in. He assessed escape routes. 3 men had surrounded him. The nearest exit was the main door, but he'd have to get past all of them to reach it. Listen, Jake raised his hands. I'm not a cop anymore. I'm a delivery driver. I won't tell anyone anything. Ahmed laughed. You were Mike Rodriguez's partner. He killed our man. No. Jake got angry. Mike didn't kill your man. You killed Mike. Carlos grinned. Yes, I killed him. And now I'm going to kill you too. Jake realized he had to escape now. He threw the pizza box at Carlos's face and started running. But Ahmed caught him and knocked him to the ground. Bring him inside. Jake fell to the ground, but immediately recovered. He started fighting with the 3 men. Thanks to his Border Patrol training, he fought well, but he was in a difficult position against 3 people. After being dragged inside the warehouse, Jake looked around. He was confronted with a terrible sight. The warehouse was a center set up for human trafficking. There were sleeping bags, water bottles, and food packages on the ground. Maps were hung on the walls. U.S. maps, with routes and border crossings marked. But the worst part was the table in the corner. On it were fake passports, ID cards, and Jake's blood ran cold. These weren't just fake IDs. These were files of terror suspects. Ahmed noticed what Jake was looking at. Yes, now you've seen too much. Jake examined the photos on the table. They were all people the FBI was looking for. Terrorists on the most wanted list. And here they were in Chicago, walking around with fake identities. How? Jake asked in amazement. Carlos explained. Very easy. The people we can't get through the Mexican border, we bring through the Canadian border. Canada is easier. From there, we bring them here. Nobody suspects. Ahmed added. Cars coming from Canada don't get much attention. Jake understood that this wasn't just a local operation. This was an international terror network. How many people have you brought through? 15 people this month, 12 last month, 20 more coming next week. Jake's mind was working. If these numbers were correct, hundreds of terror suspects had entered the U.S., and none of them were on the radar. Where did they go? Different cities. New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Houston, all for different missions. Jake's heart ached. All these people were walking around in the U.S., and nobody knew. Carlos approached Jake. Now you know too much. So, just then, the warehouse door opened. New people entered. These weren't smugglers either. They looked American. The man who entered surprised Jake. White, middle-aged, in a suit. He was American. What's the problem? The man asked. Ahmed explained. This is a former border cop. He recognized us. The man looked at Jake. Jake Thompson, El Paso Border Patrol. I've read your file. Jake was surprised. Who are you? I'm just a businessman, and you're disrupting my business. Jake realized this operation was much bigger than he thought. Americans were involved too. Who are you? Jake asked again. I'm Frank Morrison, Homeland Security Consultant. Jake recognized this name. Morrison was a former DHS employee. How was he here? You were at DHS. Yes, I'm retired. Now I work in the private sector. Are you helping terrorists? Morrison laughed. I'm making money. I don't care who's on whose terror list. Jake felt sick. A former DHS employee was doing terrorist smuggling. How many people are involved in this? Enough. Border Control, Customs, FBI. We have people inside all of them. Jake understood this wasn't just smuggling. This was treason. Morrison approached Jake. Now you're going to make a decision. Either you work with us or never. Jake was determined. Then, unfortunately, Morrison pulled out his gun. Jake's end had come. But just then, sounds came from outside the warehouse. The sound of sirens. "Police!" Ahmed shouted in panic. Morrison was surprised. "How did they find us?" Jake smiled. He'd already pressed the emergency button inside his jacket, a special device given to ex-Border Patrol agents. It sent GPS signals and emergency messages. "I'm still in the system," Jake said. The sound of sirens was getting closer. FBI, DHS, local police, they were all coming. Morrison tried to shoot Jake, but Jake threw himself to the ground. The bullet hit the ceiling. The warehouse turned to chaos. Smugglers were trying to escape. Organization members were trying to destroy documents, but it was too late. The FBI broke down the doors and entered. "FBI! Everyone get down!" Jake stood up and raised his hands. "I'm Jake Thompson, former Border Patrol agent. I'm the informant for this operation." The lead FBI agent approached Jake. "Agent Johnson, we received your signal." Jake quickly explained the situation. Terror suspects, fake identities, internal treason, Canadian border operation. Johnson was amazed. "Is this information accurate? Look at the table. It's all there." Johnson examined the documents on the table. "My God, this is massive." The arrest process took hours. Ahmed, Hassan, Carlos Mendez, Frank Morrison, and 12 other people were taken into custody. Documents, fake identities, maps, everything was collected as evidence. Jake gave his statement at FBI headquarters. For 3 days, he recounted every detail, past operations, faces he recognized, experiences at the border. Agent Johnson asked, "Jake, while you were working as a delivery driver, why didn't you follow up on these kinds of things?" "Because I was trying to leave that life behind. After Mike died, I didn't want to do this work anymore." "But you did today," Jake thought. "Because I saw Mike's killer, and I knew he wouldn't stop until I killed him." Johnson nodded. "Jake, thanks to this operation, we caught 47 terror suspects. We conducted simultaneous operations in 12 states. You probably saved this country from dozens of attacks." Jake was relieved, but also sad. Was Mike's revenge taken? Carlos Mendez will get life imprisonment. Morrison, too. A week later, Jake returned to DoorDash, but everything had changed. The FBI wanted to keep him as a consultant. DHS made the same offer. Jake was undecided. Should he continue his quiet delivery driver life or return to his old profession? The answer came unexpectedly. Agent Johnson called. "Jake, we have an offer for you. Homeland Security is establishing a new unit, Civilian Intelligence Network. Ex-agents work in normal jobs but keep their eyes open." Interested? Jake thought. He could live a normal life but also serve his country. "Do I need to quit my delivery job?" "No. Quite the opposite. Your delivery job would be perfect cover. You travel all over the city, meet all kinds of people." Jake smiled. "I accept." 3 months later, Jake was still doing DoorDash deliveries on Chicago's streets, but he wasn't just carrying food anymore. His eyes and ears were open. He was watching suspicious activities, reporting them. 2 weeks ago, he'd caught another human trafficking operation. This time, a Chinese organized crime group. Jake had caught them too. Now, sitting in his car, waiting for a new order, Jake thought about Mike. His partner would be proud. Jake hadn't given up. He was just continuing in a different way. A new order notification came on his phone. Pad Thai from Thai Kitchen. Address 1247 North Warehouse District. Jake smiled. Another day, another delivery, maybe another operation. On Chicago Street, Jake Thompson continued carrying both pizza and justice. And that's enough. The investigation that followed revealed the true scope of Morrison's network. Over 18 months, they had successfully smuggled 127 terror suspects into the United States through the Canadian border route. Each suspect had been provided with sophisticated fake documentation that allowed them to blend seamlessly into American society. The network operated with military precision. Safe houses in Detroit handled the initial Canadian border crossings. From there, suspects were moved through Chicago, Jake's unwitting discovery point, before being dispersed to cells in major metropolitan areas across the country. What made the operation particularly dangerous was its inside connections. Morrison had recruited active and former personnel from multiple agencies, Customs and Border Protection, TSA, even mid-level FBI administrators. These insiders provided real-time intelligence about security operations, helping smugglers avoid detection. The financial scope was staggering. Each successful smuggling operation netted between $50,000 and $100,000 per person. Morrison's organization had generated over $12 million in illegal profits, money that was being funneled back to terrorist organizations overseas. Jake's accidental discovery prevented what intelligence analysts later determined would have been at least 6 major coordinated attacks. Intercepted communications revealed plans targeting transportation hubs, government facilities, and large public gatherings during upcoming holiday seasons. The trials that followed made national headlines, though Jake's identity remained protected. Morrison received life without parole. Ahmed, Hassan, and Carlos Mendez also received life sentences. 17 other operatives, including the corrupted government employees, received sentences ranging from 20 to 40 years. For Jake, the aftermath brought both closure and new purpose. The civilian intelligence network proved remarkably effective. Within its first year, the program identified 34 suspicious operations across 12 cities. Former military and law enforcement personnel working in everyday jobs became America's hidden sentinels. Jake's delivery routes took him through every neighborhood in Chicago, construction sites where undocumented workers might be exploited, shipping facilities where contraband could be moved, ethnic enclaves where radicalization might take root. His trained eyes spotted patterns that regular citizens would miss. The program expanded nationwide. Former agents worked as taxi drivers in New York, construction workers in Los Angeles, hotel employees in Miami. Each maintained their cover while feeding information to a sophisticated analysis network that could identify threats before they materialized. Jake developed relationships throughout his delivery area. Restaurant owners began confiding in him about customers who paid only in cash and seemed nervous. Apartment building managers mentioned tenants who received no mail and avoided human contact. Gas station attendants described suspicious purchasing patterns for prepaid phones and fuel. These seemingly insignificant details, when aggregated and analyzed, painted pictures of criminal networks operating below law enforcement's traditional radar. Jake's reports contributed to investigations that disrupted money laundering operations, uncovered immigration fraud rings, and prevented several potential terror attacks. The work wasn't without personal cost. Jake remained constantly vigilant, always analyzing faces and behaviors. Relationships were difficult when you couldn't fully explain your background or your heightened awareness of danger. He moved apartments twice after suspicious vehicles appeared in his neighborhood, but the mission gave meaning to Mike's sacrifice. Every successful operation, every prevented attack, honored his fallen partner's memory. Jake carried a small photo of Mike in his delivery bag, a reminder of why the work mattered. 2 years after the warehouse discovery, Jake received an unexpected call. Agent Johnson had been promoted to Deputy Director of the FBI's CounterTerrorism Division. Jake, we're expanding the civilian intelligence network internationally. Jake considered the offer while parked outside a pizza restaurant, waiting for an order. The quiet life he'd built was comfortable, but the larger mission called to him. What would that involve? Training programs in allied nations, teaching their retired military and police how to operate in civilian covers, building networks that can identify threats before they cross borders. I'd have to travel extensively. Europe, Asia, wherever terrorist networks are evolving. Jake thought of all the delivery drivers, construction workers, hotel clerks, and shop owners around the world who could serve as early warning systems against terrorism. The pizza he was delivering could wait. This conversation was about something larger. I accept. 6 months later, Jake found himself in a training facility outside London, teaching former SAS operators how to work as food delivery drivers while monitoring for suspicious activities. The irony wasn't lost on him. His accidental discovery had evolved into a systematic approach to counterterrorism. The program's success led to permanent assignments. Jake became the international coordinator for civilian intelligence operations, still officially working as a consultant while managing networks across 43 countries. His apartment in Chicago remained his base, but now it served as a command center for operations spanning continents. The same skills he developed pursuing smugglers at the Mexican border now helped coordinate intelligence gathering from Moscow to Mumbai. Late at night, reviewing reports from operatives around the globe, Jake often thought about that ordinary Tuesday when he delivered pizza to the wrong address. One random order had exposed an international terrorist network and launched a new phase of his career. The photograph of Mike Rodriguez still sat on his desk, now accompanied by pictures of other agents who'd made similar sacrifices. Their memory drove the mission forward, ensuring that their deaths contributed to a safer world. Jake Thompson was still just a delivery driver in official records, but he was a delivery driver who'd learned that ordinary people in ordinary jobs could accomplish extraordinary things when they paid attention to the world around them. And in a time when threats emerged from shadows and operated through seemingly innocent fronts, that kind of vigilance was exactly what the world needed. What an incredible journey from ordinary delivery driver to international counterterrorism coordinator. Jake Thompson's story proves that heroes often emerge from the most unexpected places and circumstances. Subscribe to One Human, One Story for more incredible tales of ordinary Americans who stumbled into extraordinary situations. Like this video if Jake's transformation from delivery driver to hidden defender inspired you.